also in. This time Gauff is not going to make it. So Sabalenka survives, and it's really, even though it's straight, like it's a bit of a survival effort. It does feel like it, for sure. There's a warm hug at the net, and that's over. Arina Sabalenka in the Australian Open final for the second year in a row. I think Coco will win the French, says someone in the chat. Will she? I mean, I would still go Świątek. I think she has a horrible matchup with Iga still, despite that one loss. But there's going to be quite a lot of pressure on Świątek to win the French for sure. So last year she wasn't fully like handling it in the final. So maybe. I don't know if Ghosty is sarcastic about that warm hug, but I think it was pretty warm. Like usually we see players, especially on the WTA, I think a little less pleasant to themselves after the match, I think. But yeah, Zendaya is probably not following the Challenger Tour, as he said. BJK looks gutted. I mean, she was just looking for... Oh, and we have someone here on our screens. Is the person about to say something? Or okay, the person is about to say something. Perhaps give his take on the match, or we're gonna just talk about what that means. And yeah, basically 7-6, 6-4 Sabalenka. Still a decent performance, but she did have to battle her nerves. BJK is American, Ghosty, and I think that's probably what's leading her in that way.
How are you?
I can't hear you. Oh, no, that's a me problem. Never mind. I had my sound turned off.
It's okay. I'm going to turn my microphone on as well.
Although I still haven't turned it on for some reason.
Do you hear me all right?
Why can't I turn it on now is the question. But okay, now I can hear you. Yes, I forgot that I turned it on. I turned it off.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Okay. I really enjoyed that match. I know Jake was saying at one point during the first set or towards the end of the first set, like he thought it wasn't that great. But I thought that the first 5 or 6 games were of a high quality. It only started to fall apart when Sabalenka was trying to close it out, and that provided the drama, that provided tension. And then in the tiebreak, I think the quality went back up again. I guess this could be a confirmation bias theory. Are you familiar with this, Damien, by the way, this notion of confirmation bias?
I guess I know what you mean.
When you have a sort of idea before you see something, and then it confirms your idea. So
yeah, you're just sort of watching out for that, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And what I'm getting at is it was like, this is kind of up to Sabalenka. Saying it's on her racket is maybe a slight exaggeration, but it sort of felt before the match and then at times during the match that if Sabalenka could just keep it together, a bit like the US Open final, she wins the match, because ultimately she's one of only 2 or 3 players on the tour, or certainly in the upper echelons of the game, who can go through Coco. I mean, I saw the winners going through her at times, and there weren't like a bunch of them, but it was like, yeah, she can do that, whereas other players on the tour can't. And so I just felt that was the case from start to finish, that her peak would probably be enough. It was just a case of whether she could maintain it. And to be honest with you, the peak from Sabalenka was there for 7 games, and it was there again during the tiebreak, and it was there again during the second set, where I think both players were approaching their peak as long as Sabalenka could avoid the net. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a whole, you cannot really say that Sabalenka didn't have good moments under pressure in this match. Definitely not. Like, yeah, the tiebreak, as you said, like it was pretty masterful. So I guess it's a bit of a similar story to her previous, semifinals, finals the last year or so, right? So like there's arguments both sides, but eventually she was feeling the pressure quite a lot. I think the quality in the first 7 games was awesome. Maybe 8 even. The Gauff hold at 2-5 was really good. Then of course Sabalenka just completely loses control over her shots, like for 3 games more or less. I think actually the 5-6 game probably is more so a Gauff problem than the Sabalenka,
Okay, 30
getting
love. Yeah.
regaining it back. Yeah, fairly love, and also the fact that this was like the one big deep of the Gauff forehand that we saw. The couple of errors that she makes there, the one on the breakpoint especially. I would say that this is perhaps the moment that Coco has to look back upon, and that's the moment where she kind of lost the match. But of course, that wouldn't have
The
happened
30
if
love
Sabalenka.
point,
Hmm?
I don't remember that point so clearly, the 30 love point.
The 30 love point I don't remember it either, but the break point I do remember
Did she
it, and
put a
I think
forehand long?
one of the previous
She
points
might put.
definitely had another messy forehand, but the break point especially was, yes, yet another one where she just doesn't produce it, well at all. She just messes up in the stroke production. And that was probably the one big forehand deep really from Gauff the entire match, because again, like when there's a lot of pressure on it, she usually can actually handle herself, like with that speed, with that athleticism. She was returning very well for sure. But yeah, of course, it doesn't have to mean that one game doesn't have to mean that she loses the match. It kind of did, because Arina recovered from that mentally, and eventually she was obviously fine, especially in the tiebreak, but also in the second set. Some issues to hold at the end as well, but the serve really like got her out of trouble there in the
Mm.
5-4 game, right in the second when she's serving it out. So as a whole, of course, yeah, mentally it's a massive, massive win for Sabalenka. I understand, yeah, the confirmation bias thing. I've sort of definitely had it in the past, where you start watching a matchup with a certain idea in
Mhm.
mind, and then you're just sort of, yeah, just watching out for this, and you don't have a clear mind. You're not actually looking at the match and what the patterns of play are, but you're actually just sort of noticing the stuff that would definitely confirm your theories. I don't know if this was the case here. Like, I think this matchup we had a very clear idea on, even at the US Open. It was very similar here. But yeah, if we had question marks in regards to whether Gauff can put enough pressure on Sabalenka to make her sort of go through these woes, go through these wobbles again, yes, she absolutely did. She did play well enough to pull it off. I think the match overall was very high quality, other than the three Sabalenka games, really. There was a question from Ghosty: how can Zheng hope to compete with
Yeah.
Sabah? Coco was supposed to have the cheat codes. It's pretty tough. I think it is pretty tough for her, just like the Yastremska matchup is. And yeah, we'll see how she handles it. But she basically is often overwhelmed by players like this. Like when she can't take like when the first strike is taken away from her. She did that very well against Kalinskaya. Like over the course of the match, she actually managed to stay a bit closer to the baseline, respond to like Kalinskaya's shots with maybe deeper counters, and not be pushed back. But the question is about Sabalenka and Yastremska. It's a different type of ball striking to Kalinskaya, right? Kalinskaya is like all about that early timing. Kalinskaya and Yastremska, Sabalenka and Yastremska, I think, are pretty similar actually, in that they hit so much heavier. So I do question Zheng's ability to win against Sabalenka in the final. I do. Maybe Yastremska would actually have even a stronger shot. Who knows?
I'm going to leave in 60 seconds, and then I'm going to high five Mario as I leave. You and Mario, especially, I want to hear what Mario thought of that match. All I'll say to you both is 5, 10. I don't mind how many minutes you talk about that match for. I'm more than happy to hear you all day, but just keep an eye on Yastremska and Zheng, because if they start their match, and
Honestly, I think I've said it also. Like, if Mario wants to talk for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's his
that's
call.
great.
But I
That's
think I've
great.
said it all
But I
basically.
have one more thing to say, and that is
Okay.
regarding that ghosty question comment is, does Coco quite have the cheat codes? I think she has it in terms of making Arena hit another ball, but that scoreline that you can see here and that match that we've just seen is maybe like, just putting a negative spin on this for Sabalenka, it's pretty much full of positives, I think, is maybe that scoreline you see to my side there is the scoreline that could have and should have happened in the US Open final, if Saba had just sort of maintained the level in the first set. So I'm not entirely sure that Coco has the cheat codes. I think Coco will be a threat at every slam and will get to semifinals and finals. But I think there's probably, she needs to probably improve a little bit more in terms of her game to be a regular slam finalist, semi-finalist than or even winner than maybe Sabalenka does. Anyway, I've said what I have to say. I think her against Sheng, if it is the final, could be interesting,
By the way,
but
she was
probably
supposed to have the cheat codes for what? I don't really get
to,
it.
to beat Sabalenka. I think he it's like she had the cheat code to figure out and to make Sabalenka get anxious and
Mhm.
basically beat her. Anyway, listen, I want Mario to share his thoughts and then we'll have the other match.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hi, first of all. No, well, my opinion is that this match, at least in terms of the scoring, if you was telling me 7-6, 6-4 for Sabalenka, given what I also was watching from them before this match, I would have believed. I would have believed that, and I think that it was probably the most probable, kind of scoreline we could have expected if we consider, just the level Sabalenka was playing at, but still the fact that Gauff can make things complicated for her. I think that despite this messy first set, we had Sabalenka was quite comfortably ahead, and then there's been that moment when Gauff had that positive streak, was actually 2 points away from holding first set. But I feel like overall this is a positive match for Sabalenka. It was the first very very top opponent she was facing at this tournament. Krejcikova is a very solid one, also can play some very good matches, but it's another kind of level against Gauff, especially because Gauff has what it takes to make Sabalenka feel more pressure to close the point and rush things more. So I would say that it's a positive thing for Sabalenka to have managed to stay calm, played a great tiebreak. Second set pretty well. She was almost perfect as serve, because she only had one love 30, and then she went to deuce while serving for the match, but overall she hasn't conceded a single break point. So in the second set, I mean. So I think that from Sabalenka perspective, this is an encouraging match. She will be, of course, a favorite in the final, because I kind of agree with what you were saying about Zeng and Janstremska, but still this, of course, won't change the fact that Arina enters the court as a heavy favorite this time. And probably the first time there's maybe such a difference between, in terms of Arina was probably the favorite in both the slam finals she played, but not probably at the level she will be on Saturday. Whoever wins between Zeng and Jastrzemska, who of course will have their shots, but for the way she carried herself throughout the tournament, the fact that she is also the defending champion, proved to be playing unbelievable in Melbourne. I think, of course, she will be the heavy favorite for the final. So let's see what it's going to happen. As for Gauff, after winning her first slam as the US Open, we can consider this run pretty good, even if she hasn't really beaten a top 10 player or something like that. But still, backing up a major win with a slam semi-final is, I think, still something to look at in a positive way. Of course, in these big matches, I mean, of course, she won, the most important of her career so far at the US Open. I mean, she had lost the French Open final, but still, I'm considering the US Open the most important also because she was, 1 year with 1 year of experience more. So she was not facing Iga of that winning streak. So, I feel that something that she can still try to do a little bit heavier on the court, maybe with her shots. She is definitely, running a lot in these matches. She can do it very well, but maybe at times it cannot be enough against a player with the Sabalenka's power. Still, the match has been close in the end, even if it had not been 3 sets. So well, let's say that I think that for both, even for Gauff, we can see some positives because still she got a solid result, and overall, I feel like she also played overall a good match, even if without maybe all what it should have taken her to take a set of Sabalenka or even to win. Still she was very close to make things pretty interesting by just holding that service game. She was 30 love in the first set. I think that she can be quite satisfied, even if of course there's still something that can be at times maybe approached in a different way. But yeah, overall I think that it would be too harsh to say a lot about Gauff today.
Yeah, fingers. So obviously now Sabalenka is not getting to number one. She wins the Australian Open because she's defending her 2,000 points. Double faults. This is a very underrated stat, overrated stat here, I think, because basically 6 of them were like in the first 4 service games for Coco. So obviously they were inconsequential really to the result of the match. I believe, and later on, of course, she also like had a lot of pressure on her to try going for her second serve. And when it comes to the cheat codes, I understand what you mean, Ghosty, but given that Sabalenka was still like a pretty big favorite, it's kind of hard to call them cheat codes. But is this a way in which you can beat Sabalenka? Yes, but are there others? Probably. On these courts, I don't know, actually. For example, in Cancun, we saw that Djokovic performance from Świątek. We'll see if maybe on some other slower courts it's going to happen as well. I don't know about the Arena semi-final take, John. Like, this was actually a match perhaps more only proving that she has these Grand Slam nerves. I mean, there was 3 games, really, that she played poorly in the entire match. And she was so nervy there. And it's not like she was really, I think, making a lot of these forehand errors like someone here mentions. Like, she was just way too nervy to play. Like, she was just unable to keep balls in play for 3 games. And also even the last game, yeah. Really, if it wasn't for the serve, again, we see another shaky hold or a shaky break maybe when she's trying to serve it out. So these nerves were there. Thankfully for her, she managed to get it done. She manages to get into the Australian Open final. And as we said earlier, she is going to be the favorite regardless of who she plays. We'll see, but hopefully it's still a competitive final, though, on Saturday. Anyway, let's...
Yeah, we're going to see. I mean, for sure, till now, the 2 finals Sabalenka has played have really been competitive. Of course, the opponents were different, but if she has a performance like the U.S. Open one, I think it can be pretty tight, more or less against everyone. Even because I felt like in that U.S. Open final, when she was up 6-2. She won the first set 6-2. She was not playing really good, It was overall a bad match by both sides till that point. Then Gauff improved a little bit just because Sabalenka starting just mistaking everything even more. Let's see what's going to happen, but I feel like this time she will be pretty tough to stop. I feel like even if she was nervy today, maybe there's something also different here. She has this confidence that she's able to make it somehow that can help you to reset and to keep going regardless of the mistake you've just made or something that's stuck in her head, like in the US Open final.
All right, I guess this will be it then. We've probably said it all. As I said, I don't really have any more takes, Mario, unless you have something to say. Go ahead.
No,
But
no, I mean,
otherwise,
I've said it all, even because, you know, I was at the doctor. I followed the match through, you know, the stream on my phone. So I'm not really any particular moment. You know, I have an idea of what happened, of course, but
while you were
uh,
at the doctor, did he also like see you, under the table where you're like still watching the Australian
no,
Open
no, 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 no.
final?
Inside, it
Inside
was,
he
you know,
went. Okay.
the first couple of game, 2-3 games of the second set.
No, Ghosty, I haven't reached my limit. Like, honestly, of course, we could sit here and talk for an hour about like what sort of this means going forward for Gauff. I would just be repeating a
Yeah,
lot of the
sure.
same takes that I said during the match or during the streams this week, and we still have that Jastrzębska Zheng semifinal
Yeah,
to
exactly.
cover. So we're pretty much gonna close shop for now. I see that they're actually already warming up, I think, because Jastrzębska
Yes.
will be starting the match on serve. So we will be back on the other stream in like a minute or two, basically. So
Yeah.
see you guys there.
See
You
you.
know where to find the stream, obviously,
Yeah.
but maybe John can also send it in the chat or whatever. But you also know where to find it on the YouTube of Talking Tennis. See you there.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.